I don't think the basic business of satisfying someone's desire to find a home will change.
We are very excited today to have Ted Slightham with us. Ted is the, of course, founder here at Royal LePage Signature, although it was called something different, Ted, back in the day. Started in 1965, originally as Slightham Real Estate. You and your dad set out to start a brokerage business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that idea was behind that? Why did you decide to get into the brokerage business itself?
Well, there was an opportunity in the mall at that time. An office came up for sale. And fortunately, my dad had a vision of starting our own business. So we purchased the office. There were 5 salespeople. That's what we started with.
5 salespeople. Come a long way.
We have. Yeah, it's grown considerably since.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad was a home builder, is that correct?
That's right. He built in Leaside and Don Mills, and retired, I think, around 1961. And he had never had a broker's license or always sold his own houses. So he obtained a broker's license, I guess, in probably 1962.
Wow. And did he come up to you and say, Ted, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open this, we're going to buy this office, and we're going to get started?
Not really. I started with Young and Biggin over on Yonge Street.
Yeah. And
a great office, got some good education there, and all of a sudden, about 8 months later, this office became available. So it was a quick transition from selling real estate to running an office.
Very quick, yeah. I forgot that's a Slightham family rule. You have to go sell real estate somewhere else first before you can come into the family business, right?
We did do that with both Chris and Jeff.
I remember.
They spent 2 years, both of them actually, with Royal LePage before they joined our company in Don Mills.
Yeah, let them make mistakes somewhere else, Ted?
Well, let them learn the business, find out how easy it is or tough.
Oh, yes. I bet they learned how tough that was. In 60 years, you have seen and experienced quite a few things. Tell us about some of those tougher moments. I'm thinking, obviously, in the 90s, you know how tough the market is right now, of course, for salespeople. You know, what sort of, in those tougher moments, were the opportunities that were present?
Well, when I came into the business in 65, it was what we would call today a hot real estate market.
Okay.
There were 3 or 4 offers on every property.
That's hot.
And of course, it changes over the years. It goes up and down. And certainly the 70s, there were some down periods. Of course, 95 is when we hit rock bottom. And you just have to work a little harder, approach the business a little differently, do a little more advertising at that time, just to keep your clients flowing.
So kind of similar to what we're talking about right now. I know, obviously, you probably don't watch Signature Live twice a week, but that's okay. We've talked a lot about that on our show, about how in these tough markets, it's about being more present, doing more activity, staying more in front of people. It sounds like that really hasn't changed since 1965.
The business has really not changed that much in 60 years, believe it or not.
It's hard to believe.
It is. You would think it would evolve. What has evolved is how we do the business. With technology has certainly changed a lot of things. We started off with the IBM Selectric typewriters with 6 pieces of carbon paper. And look where we are today. We're sending offers by email.
Yes, so exactly, right?
That's where the change is.
I remember those days. Press hard. Press hard. There's 6 copies. Press hard. Sign hard for everybody.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about, you know, the guiding principles that have served you well in 60 years.
Well, I'm very proud and have a lot of pride with what the boys have done with the business. They have embraced our values that we set very early on. And they have achieved far more than I would have ever have dreamed of.
Oh.
So
it's going to make me all misty.
We're very fortunate that they both love the business.
They do.
And work very hard and understand that the agents are the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
you taught them that, though.
Well, we learned that very early on, and we've continued that over the years. What I see as one of the major pluses of the company today is the training that's involved with the agents. I think that was lacking when I started 60 years ago. You sort of talked to other agents in the office and got an idea of what had to be done.
Yeah, training by osmosis.
It was training by osmosis, and I remember my first day. I asked the gentleman beside me what I should do. And he said, well, you need clients. And I said, well,
thank you.
How do I get those? Well, you need an open house. Well, I don't have a listing. Well, you might want to drive around and find a builder who will provide you with an open house. So the next day I went up to Finch and Leslie on a street called Alamosa. Found a builder there. He said he was willing to let me sit on his open house for the weekend.
All right.
Sat there Saturday, nothing much happened. Sunday afternoon, a young couple came in with a couple of children, and they spent about a half an hour in the house, turned around to me and said, we'd like to buy it. And I thought to myself, boy, this business is easy. I've been in it 72 hours.
Look at me go.
But I found out very quickly.
That was not the case.
The business is challenging.
The business is challenging.
And, it was a hot market, as I mentioned earlier. But it was a great experience, a great way to get started.
Yeah. Do you remember when I started? You probably don't.
I don't.
You don't. When I remember when I started, you came up to me and you said, well, dear, how are you going to get started? And I said, I'm not entirely sure. I know I need clients. And you said, well, you're going to open house. And I said, I don't have any listings, Mr. Slightham. And you said, that's okay, come with me. And so I followed you and you took me over to Karen Miller and you're like, this is Karen Miller. She has lots of listings.
Wow.
And I said, okay, great. And Karen kind of looked at me. I was very young at the time. And Karen kind of looked at me and you're like, it's okay. She's going to be okay. She'll follow directions. And I open house for Karen Miller every weekend for months and months and months and months.
So that's how you got your clients.
That's how I started. And I remember going into Chris one day and saying, I've been open housing for months and nothing's happening. Like I'm not converting.
Yep.
And it came back to the training. So he said to me, well, what are you saying in the open house? And I was like, well, I'm talking about the house and I'm doing this. And he said, okay, well, you have to ask better questions. And so kind of going back to that training conversation that you said, it was really me knowing what to say. And once I started asking better questions, my conversion rate changed almost immediately. Like that very first weekend, people were more engaged with me and it became easier. So
well, that's what I see happening around here with our agents. And a lot of them are embracing the training and getting better at what they're doing.
yeah, I feel like in, such a competitive environment, I'm sure obviously 60 years, the business looks very different. But, now at Treb, there's more than 75,000 realtors chasing after, last month, 5,000 sales. And so, that training component, I think really is what gives them a bit of that edge that they need so desperately right now, because it's been tough for people.
Right.
In 2001, you made the decision to go from Slightham Real Estate, which was a well-known, very well-recognized brand here in Don Mills, to going with a larger brand and partnering with Royal LePage. What was sort of the idea at that time behind that?
Well, it all started with Royal LePage coming to us and wanting to buy our office.
Oh, interesting.
So we thought, well, we're not really in the mood of selling at this point. Why don't we see if they'd be interested in selling their offices? And they had just begun the franchise procedure across Canada. So we ended up buying their head office on Winford. And they had another office over at Victoria Park in Lawrence, which we purchased as well. So we combined all of those agents with our own agents, and that's how it all started.
Yeah, and some of those agents from that, those original Royal LePage offices are still here with us.
They are.
They are.
Yes,
Some of those OGs, we call them, are still here. And what did that do at the time for your business? Obviously, you acquired more agents, but did you find in those moments that the former Slightham Real Estate agents appreciated being with a bigger brand? Did it make a difference to the overall
I think
feel?
it did. We realized very quickly that the brand was very, very important to our industry. And so our agents that we had at that time, I think it was around 100 agents, with that office, they embraced the Royal LePage brand right away.
That's good. We talk a lot about that here. You know, the agent now, I think in our present environment really is obviously a people business, and the agents are generating their own leads, of course, through their own database. And arguably speaking, if you are meeting with a client that knows you, that's done business, whether you're with Royal LePage or Remax, they might not care necessarily. But the brand does matter if you're coming in and it's a company they don't know or they've never heard of, or it's a little bit smaller, or they're not sure, what kind of value that provides. And so it's interesting to hear even then that the brand made a difference to your agents.
It really did make a difference. Yep.
And they still got to keep you, which of course probably made the bigger difference.
Well, they had the foundation of the original company, which they enjoyed. But I think also bringing in other agents into the office gave them another insight into what could be done.
So what do you think, I know predictions are tough for everybody, but Ted, what do you think, the next 60 years in this industry will bring?
Well, I don't think the basic business of satisfying someone's desire to find a home will change. But what we are going to see probably is more technology changes. But as far as getting to know your client and getting excited when they see something that they love, I don't see that changing.
You think there'll always be a spot for us as realtors?
I think there'll always be a spot for our industry.
I think so too. Ted, thank you.
You're welcome.